Hi, beautiful souls. This is Sadhana. Welcome to my channel and welcome back to my deck collection series. This is the second to last video I will be recording in this series for 2019. So all of these decks have been in my collection up until the end of last year. And in this video, we're going to look at non-scenic pips. So I have a huge range of decks here. Some are more Marseille-style and others are less illustrated than others. And the terminology is really challenging because I find that all of these decks, there are little clues, there's different ways you can work with the minors. And so hopefully I'll share with you my insight into some of those cards, and I'm going to pick just a few cards from each of the minors from each of these decks, and we'll have a look at that. And then in the final video for the collection series, I will share with you my RWS collection. So let's get to the cards. I have to tell you, this is so much fun, pulling out so many decks to share with you today. I have about 19 of them here on the table, I think, if I counted correctly. And what I've done is selected a few cards from each deck, put them to the top of the pile so we can just kind of chat about that. And I look forward to your feedback and questions in the comments below. And then also on one of my upcoming Thursday night lives, I'm going to talk about a little bit more about how I actually read the pips, but this is more of a deck sharing video. So let's get started here. This is the Maria Celia. So we're starting with more Marseille-style decks. Maria Celia, Triomphe de la Luna, and Marshmallow. And the reason for choosing certain decks on certain days has to do with mood, theme, the kind of question. If the room is dark, a lot of times I work in quite a dimly lit room when I'm doing readings, and so to have decks with lots of white space is just so much easier because then I don't have to squint my eyes, and if there's certain cards that I'm a little, I don't know, because a lot goes on when I do a reading in my heart space, in my mind, and just paying attention to the energy of the querent, if I'm with the querent. And usually when I'm with a querent, I am in a darker room at the store where I work. So yeah, so that's why I might choose a deck that has more white space. Two of Pentacles, I have to say, is one of my favorite cards in a Marseille-style deck. I just love the way that they are drawn and just that kind of, that energy of the incomplete lemniscate. I don't know. I just feel that kind of swirling back and forth, and it just really speaks to me. I love it on the Marshmallow here how you have the connection through the plant energy, and so that really speaks to me. I love the Maria Celia because it's so playful when you do have humans on the cards. And we're not going to look at court cards or majors. This is just really looking at the minors and trying to understand why you would work with a deck like, why you would want to work with a deck like this, and sharing with you my collection, of course. So I really like what Patrick's done in the pips, in the Triomphe de la Luna. It's fun, and there's energy. Just the way that he has got the thorns moving in certain directions, or the way the flowers are, and you just kind of feel it. And also the energy of the flowers in the Maria Celia has, it's really well done, because if you kind of look to the colors and you look to other little symbols, it's really beautiful. And of course the aces are so special in Marseille decks, and I think Ace of Wands, Ace of Cups, these two are my favorite. Marshmallow's not too extravagant in that regard. Yeah, this 3 here is just, it's magnificent. So yeah, oh, there's your Ace of Cups in the Triomphe de la Luna. And when the creators put their own special touches, their own brand on the cards, it's really fun as well too. So here we have the Two of Cups, and it says, I don't have my glasses on. Une pure construction de l'esprit, a pure construction of spirit. And you know, that message is partly to do with the energy of the creator and how the creator, I believe, is feeling about this deck. That Ace of Cups is just really to die for. So yeah, so these three are my, I would say, my most Marseille-esque decks. I do not have a straight up Marseille. And when do I use these decks? I use these decks when I am working with busier oracle cards and I need to just keep the tarot as simple as possible. And when I don't want a story, a scenic story in the way of the message. And maybe I have chosen a particular oracle because of its energy. And so I find the Marseille works really well. And as you know, I do a lot of combos. And if you haven't seen my deck combo series, it's really fun to do readings in combination with tarot and oracle, or Lenormand and oracle and tarot, any combination. There's your Ace of Cups there. So yeah, so this is again Maria Celia, Trompe de la Luna, and the Marshmallow Marseille. Love, love, love these three decks for very different reasons. The Tarot des Arts is such a beautiful masterpiece. I love just holding the cards in my hands and looking at them. I just feel so inspired to draw and to write when I have this deck. In the center is the Labyrinth Tarot. This one's by Louis Royo. You can get it on eBay. It's fairly inexpensive. And I also have the extended guidebook, which I can expand out and show you. Well worth the extra money, and I bought it used on Amazon. And this is the Rosetta Tarot by M.M. Moline. So yeah, these are really kind of bright decks as far as the pips go. And here you're looking, of course, at the Ace of Batons. So gorgeous. And the Ace of Cups. In the Tarot des Arts, we have, there's your Ace of Cups in this one. So this one's not quite so elaborate, but I'll share with you why I use this deck and what I use it for in a few moments. The Suit of Pentacles. So this is did I say this is the Tarot des Arts, Labyrinth, and Rosetta. This is my favorite suit. And one of the reasons I love this suit is because each of the pips is so unique, and they're not always flowers. They could be plates, and they're different objects. And I think that Lori LePage did such a good job with this deck. It just makes me happy when I see it. So this one here in the center, the Labyrinth Tarot, I purchased because it's hard to, and I'm talking about that this week on my Thursday Live. So I'm going to talk about decks that transcend time, decks that they don't really associate with any particular culture or age. And this is why I purchased this deck, to do with past life readings. So yeah, it's quite the deck. And the Rosetta is really new to my collection. I got it at the end of last year. And I'm planning on doing some serious study with this deck, and I'm going to dedicate a few months to that. I'm not sure when that period of time is going to arise, but I'm just fascinated, intrigued. This particular edition is the Pappas Gold edition, and it's just magical. It's so stunning the way you have the gold foil frame around each of the cards. And then, of course, part of the study will be learning the glyphs and all of the symbols. But yeah. Ooh, and see, look, amazing Ace of Cups there. Yeah, and so this deck has, so the swords are blue, the pentacles, there's your Ace of Pentacles, it's really fun, are gold, and quite surprisingly, the cups are red. So that, I think that speaks to the whole idea of passion. But because the pips are color-coded, it's really easy to recognize them quickly. Yeah. And so we have this, there you've got a king, so you can see, oh, and the majors and the court cards are in this kind of black and white, grayscale. Some of them are a little more sepia toned. So yeah, there's the Ace of Swords in Lori's deck, and there's the 2. And it's nice that she stuck with that tradition of signing and putting her name on the 2 of Pentacles. And so yeah, so there you see these pentacles are all kind of different. It's really, really well done. This deck, when you found it out, looks like you've got a painter's chip in your hand. And there's just so much energy in all of these cards. So you can see a court. Yeah. So I really love these decks, if you can't tell. These cups are so beautiful. Look at that. 9 of Cups. The energy is just flowing over. And 2 of Swords. So again, this is the Rosetta by M.M. Moline, Labyrinth, and Tarot des Zohar by Lori LePage. The remainder of the decks that I'm going to show you steer far away from a Marseille-style, but these fall into the category of non-scenic pips. But to me, that's just a really strange term because there is a lot of information in every single one of these cards. It's just a matter of getting to know the deck and to be patient with it and explore it and learn its language, because each of these decks have a very unique language. This is the Pythia, Botanica, Tarot of Trees, and the Wooden Tarot. And the Pythia is so full of subtle information, and in the guidebook you do not get plant information, you do not get the medicine of the plant information. You have a short little poem for each of the cards. And so if you want to take the time, if you are a lover of plants and herbology, then use your references and try to figure out what the plants are and see why the creator included those particular plants in that particular card. And in the Suit of Swords, a lot of the plants are contained within glass bottles, which is really interesting. And so the metaphors, the layers of metaphor and energy run really, really deep. So these are all swords. That's such a great 3 of Swords. And we do have a bit of color in this deck. So this is the 2 of Pentacles. In the Tarot of Trees, the use of color is really interesting, and it takes a completely different direction than I would intuitively with this deck. So in the Suit of Swords, we have this kind of rainbow of yellow, orange, red. And then at the top, there's often purple, or in the middle, purple. And so by using the color and allowing the color to, love the Suit of Wands in this deck, because the trees are used to speak for the trees. What was I saying? So if you allow the color to come through and speak to you, you have a lot of extra layers of information. And I think this is my favorite suit because it's completely natural. There's no man-made objects in it. And if I could change anything in this deck, I would have used natural containers for the cups, because I just think it looks weird to have these vessels here. So yeah, and then in the wooden, I mean, this is such a fun deck. It's one of those decks where if you lay out the suits, the pips from Ace through 10, and there's a journey, there's a story in the pips. And so it's not as confusing as one would think by looking at the cards in a random order. And this 10 of blooms, this 10 of cups is just so gorgeous. And so again, the artist is using color to reflect energy, or lack of color to reflect energy. Yeah, so I, again, very much like the Marseille decks, use this kind of deck when the oracles need to speak louder, or sometimes these are better decks to choose if you have querent, if the querent is present and the querent reads RWS, and they're very familiar with RWS, and so you want them to kind of get out of their headspace and to use a deck that is less familiar with them. You know, it's great. Love this 8 of Wands. And so this deck, of course, pairs really, really well with the Oracle of Oddities. It's so much fun to put these 2 decks together. And sometimes, you know, when I'm doing work with, healing work with students, and we're taking a break or doing a reading during a Reiki workshop or a yoga teacher training and things like that, it's fun to pull out these kind of decks, like the Wooden and the Oracle of Oddities. I mean, that is such a great Five of Bones. So yeah. Oh, and what I was going to say about the use of colors. So in the Pentacles, it's a very dark, all the cards are really dark, right? It looks like winter. It's definitely night. And so there's this sense of gloominess that I would associate more with the suit of Swords. But Dana O'Driscoll has chosen this energy for this suit. And so you have, you know, you may or may not find that takes a little bit of time to work with. Let's see if we can get to another. There's your, see, the wands are so great because they're just trees. Then we're back to the swords, and there's the wheel. So yeah, so this is the Pythia. And, you know, a few of these cards are just absolutely mesmerizing. But again, this is a deck that takes a little bit of time to begin to be really comfortable with. And I'm just glancing at the box for the deck on the right. This is the Pythia Rosa. I'm pretty sure I said the Pythia Botanica, which is one of the oracle decks from Layla and Olive. But the tarot is called Pythia Rosa. This next group is Lily White, Lily Black, Lumina, and the Wild Unknown. And I have arranged these so we're going to look at the same cards across each of the decks, highlighting some of my favorite cards. And this Six of Swords in the Lumina Tarot here is a very special card to me. I don't think I've ever quite felt the energy of a Six of Swords like I have in this deck, and it's absolutely one of my favorite cards in the Lumina. And looking at it in comparison to the other Six of Swords here is really interesting. And I know I've spoken to this magical green door here in the Lily Black before. It's pretty cool as well too. And you can see the water splashing up here on the side of this wharf, this pier. Yeah, this is a pretty special one too. So this is a lot of cards for me to turn over. So thank you for your patience here. So we're going to the Six of Cups next. And the Six of Cups in the Lily White particularly has so much magical energy with the nesting cups. And these decks are definitely way more illustrated than any of the ones that we have looked at before. And because of that, you have an opportunity to pull in many, many different associations with color, with the actual symbolism in the card. And any card that has a web can get you going off in beautiful, beautiful stories of interconnection. And the Wild Unknown then shares that connection and then the energy through the ancestry and the roots of the tree. Yeah. Like I said, love looking at these cards. And then Two of Wands. One of the things with the Lumina Tarot is the use of the sacred geometry. And if you are interested in that, that's another dimension to bring into that particular tarot deck. And then we have the Ten of Pentacles. And I think the Pentacles are done very, very well in the Lily White. It's a very well thought through suit in that deck. And so you see the maturation of the plant of coins, the plant of flowers, throughout the suit. And it shows up especially well in the Lily White. The Eight of Swords is a really interesting card. And I wanted to show you a few of the Swords cards because I think it's important to get an idea of each of the suits, not just my favorite suits or favorite cards. And in the Wild Unknown, this butterfly that is almost ready to emerge, right? Not quite emerging. I think that captures the energy really, really well. In the lily white and the lily black, we also have the incense. That is part of the energy of the suit of swords. And so you can weave in the energy of ether alongside the energy of air. And it's a really, really clever suit also in those decks. And here's the Ace of Wands. I know a lot of people really like to look at the Ace of Wands. Sometimes it can be a deal breaker card for a lot of people, because the Ace of Wands is the potential energy for all the minor cards. And if it's well done, I think it is just a beautiful way to begin the minors. And I particularly like the Ace of Wands in the Wild Unknown. And then in contrast, dark contrast, we have the Ten of Swords. And I thought we should really look at this because this is a very important card in the minors. And here we have some quite detailed illustrations. And so you get an abundance of energy and opportunity to think a little more deeply. And I've spoken about this card on many different videos. And if we can get past the blood and gore and to really think about what this saturation of the Ten of Swords is about, and what it is about for you in that reading. What does it mean when we have just too much air, too much thought, excessive communication, excessive inadequate communication? And then what is the light side of this card? What freedom does the ending of the suit bring? And so if you're really interested in kind of my view on this, I would go back to the live where I shared my thoughts on the Ten of Swords and other sword cards as well too. It's a pretty potent card. Seven of Wands. This is a card I definitely look at carefully when I'm choosing a tarot deck or when I'm going through a tarot deck, because I think there is so much to be said about this card. It's definitely a card of, I said I wasn't going to talk about how I read these cards, but to be at this point in the Suit of Wands just shows a lot of courage and a lot of stamina. And I find this an immensely important card in this suit. And I think they're all really well done. This is the Nine of Pentacles. And if I haven't said it already, I have no problem reading these minors. I think there's so much to these illustrations, I would hardly call them non-scenic pips. But some people consider these cards, because there's no humans in the minors, for the most part. I think maybe in the Wild Unknown there might be, maybe just only in the majors. Sorry, not in the Wild Unknown, in the Lumina. There are humans in the majors. Yeah. And then here's the Two, which I said was a kind of an important card for me. And I really like to see, I like how in the Lumina she kind of stayed with the style, the Marseille-style. And you can see that swirling energy, the same energy of the incomplete lemniscate here in the lily white. And then we have it here in the Wild Unknown too. So we're sticking close to tradition. One of the things I like about the lily black is that different perception of the ground and of the rocks and of the gravel. It kind of adds another dimension here. And then I'm showing next the Ace of Cups. I really like the inclusion of the third eye here for this Ace of Cups. And it really does look like a Grail cup. And this one, you know, the simplicity here. You know that scene in Indiana Jones, the third movie, where they're going into and to choose the Grail cups, and the knights said, what are his words? To choose wisely. Well, this probably would have been the wisest choice here. The least ornamental cup. And 5. Oh, I've got 2 of cups here. I wanted to show you the 5 of Pentacles. There you go. There's the 5. In the Lily Black, I think this is really well done in the black card because you get that sense of the coldness and the snow. And so the 3 cards on the right, you see that more of the shadow side of the card. The Wild Unknown is really quite sad, right? Down at the bottom of, looks like it's down at the bottom of a pit to me. And here is the 10. Did I do that? Yeah, 10 of Cups. I like the Wild Unknown 10 of Cups. Just the color. I love the color, the way it's flowing back and forth between the top and the bottom of the card. And how all that energy connects and interacts with each other. Really speaks to me like the cards that have the spider webs on them do. So yeah, okay, so this is kind of where I wanted to wind up, was with the wheel. So again, we have the Wild Unknown, the Lumina, Lily Black, and Lily White. Second to final group, we have the second edition of the Naked Heart, Raven's Prophecy, and the White Sage. This is the indie version of the White Sage Tarot with the larger cards. And I've done a couple of videos about this deck, and so if you want to see more of the cards and you're interested in the chakra associations and so forth, you can look to those other videos, and I'll put a card above or link it somewhere either in the description box below or at the end of the video. And for the most part, these ribbons do add another layer, and they bring inquiry between the energy or the traditional energy of the suit and the chakra associations. And I have been able to figure out why the creator chose the particular chakra that she did for most of the cards. But for some of them, it is a little more challenging. And this card, I would have loved to have seen a yellow ribbon. For me, this is about the piercing of the ego, which lives in the Manipura chakra. But I understand that heart-mind connection that comes with the end of the Suit of Swords. So there's different ways that you can go, and the ribbons might take you in a completely different direction than you normally would. Nice to see the Marseille-style 2 of Pentacles. And I love the sand dollars for the Pentacles here. So there's your Ace of Pentacles, 2 of Cups, Ace of Cups. The Raven's Prophecy is kind of cool. This is a newer deck to my collection, and I've really enjoyed working with it. And the Suit of Coins, I love the evolution of the roses here. And so in the 4 of Coins here, we have the roses being bound either by, perhaps this was done by man, but it could also have been done by a weed or something else growing in the garden. And it makes me think of the bindweed card, which I believe is the devil card in the Gaian Tarot. And just the fact that the weed was strangling these plants, and then the thorns come out in protection. And there's so much you can draw into these cards. You don't need people, you know, you can just use the energy of the plants. And here's the 5. So because the stalks, the stems are being strangled in the 4, naturally in the 5, the petals begin to fall off. So yeah, I've really enjoyed working with this deck. I'm really taking my time with it and particularly the suit of coins I love. So here we have the Eight of Cups. And there's lots of references to the energy of the crow throughout this. If you're a crow lover, you'll really like this deck. And so here the bird has flown away, and all that's left behind are the feathers that have fallen, looks like, into the puddles as well. Nine of Cups. So much energy in this card. And it's hard to say which direction the storm is moving in this card. And I like that. I like to be able to change my interpretation depending on the surrounding cards. So yeah, here's an example. So 10 of Cups, we have a lot of crows, 10 crows. And the colors are brilliant. There's an Ace of Wands. And you can see, right, in some of the cards we have, like here we have what looks like the laurel wreath and the Six of Wands and the parade moving through. I don't think any of these decks are beginner's decks. They're definitely decks that once you've got a little bit of experience, are definitely easier to work with. This is a great Seven of Wands. So you see the hand over the flames, and we've got the rain above. So good, so cool. And then instead of swords, she has hands in the suit of swords. The Naked Heart is another really clever deck. And I haven't pulled this out for a while, and it just reminds me how much I really like this deck. I did consider getting the 3rd edition. I know there are a few changes to the cards, but I don't think the elemental associations are included in the new deck, which is too bad. But just looking here at the mirror of the heart and the fact that it's connected, just kind of feeling and seeing something I haven't seen before in this card. Anyway, this is a great deck. There's a lot of really subtle direction in this deck. So you'll see here like the ants, and the ants, if you had a 9 card, imagine them marching toward the card and above and to the left, or moving away from the card that was to the right or down below. I love it when deck creators do that. And same here with the octopus leg. Like where has this particular tentacle come from? Love working with that with decks. The wands are really well done in this one. And I find this deck is easy, very easy to read. There's just the right amount of information. And maybe, on a particular day, you're going to be going like, ooh, why are they black pearls? Why are they not white pearls? That might be important. You never know. And I always say, allow whatever comes forward to come forward. Maybe your querent is wearing black pearls or has a black pearl ring on or something. Yeah, these wands are so dynamic. And I love the stark contrast between the color. So when the cards are colored and the white background. And I find that the weaving of story is really easy in this deck because that white space gives you that space to kind of flow between the cards. Such a pretty deck. Like that ace is just perfect. The sword in place of the body of the butterfly. And of course you get that one. So yeah, so again, you can't say non-scenic. And I'm still trying to find another word to describe these kind of decks, right? So they're not really pip decks. They're just more, just no humans. Plenty of information. This Seven of Cups is so good. I love the cloud around the giraffe's eyes. I thought it'd be fun to end this video with playing cards. It's kind of falls into the category of non-scenic pips, though the deck we have on either side here, the illuminated playing cards, are quite heavily illustrated. These are the, as I said, Illuminated playing cards by Caitlin Keegan. You might be familiar with the Illuminated Tarot. So the Illuminated Tarot, it has much more color than these cards. They're exactly the same cards, just with less color variation. And so there's a kind of a sun and a moon version included in this 2-pack. And in the center is the Arcana playing cards by Dead on Paper. And so when I am using these cards to play with friends and family, I usually take out the 0 card. So these decks here have 53 cards. So if you take out the 0, then you have a 52 card pack. And in these ones, if you take out the pages and the majors, then you also have a 52 card pack, and you can just use them as playing cards. And it's really kind of fun because people ask questions about the aces, and they ask questions about the particular energy of the queens and the kings. And sometimes it's a really fun way to draw in people who aren't familiar with the tarot to the tarot. And it's also really nice, just really nice to have beautiful playing cards. But you can see in Caitlin's deck, of course, it's not lightly illustrated. The RWS system comes through pretty much loud and clear in these cards. So yeah, 5 of Cups, 5 of Hearts. And so here is the 10 of Hearts, but this is also associated with the wheel. And so you have, if you are using these cards for doing readings rather than playing, you have this beautiful kind of interwoven double system, and it makes for really unique readings. So you have the 6 of Pentacles. You can see like you're kind of looking over at somebody's dinner table. And that's the Star card. Really interesting choice for the 7 of Diamonds, 7 of Pentacles, and the Chariot as the 7 of Swords. So in the Dead on Paper deck, you have the aces are illustrated and the court cards are illustrated. And of course the majors are illustrated too, but for the pips you just have, you can tell these have been really well played with. So there's your Jack. So you have Jack, Page, Jack, Queen, and King. And so the jacks are your knights, and they're really beautiful. I love the majors in this deck. It's really a fun deck to read with, and if you want to practice reading with numerology, this is a really great deck to work with because you have the strong illustrations on the majors, and I really love working with this deck. And then this in this sunnier version. So here we have the 4 of Pentacles. It's really kind of cool. And if you get reversals in this deck, it's even more fun to try to figure out which way the drawing's going. There's your 8 of Pentacles. And it's really, really subtle, the illustrations, when you take out all the color. And I think one of the reasons I didn't buy the larger cards was they were so busy, and I actually prefer this kind of sun and moon version of this deck. So here is your 7 of Diamonds, right, in these 2 different versions. And this is the World card, so the Ace of Diamonds is the World. And then there's the wheel again. So you can see it's fun. It's really fun. So yes, I really appreciate you hanging in there. I know I shared with you a lot of different decks today. There's a 9 of Cups. So please let me know what's in your collection for PIP. Non-scenic pips, non-scenic minors, and if you have another word that is better than non-scenic, because these are definitely scenic. So this is cool. This is the 10 of Spades, so the 10 of Swords, and this is the Judgment card. And this is fun. I really love these multiple layers. I like it when decks make me think and they make me kind of work harder to read. And if you choose a deck like this to do a reading, then it's the perfect deck for the reading, and what is going to need to come forth will come forth. So just before I wind up, I want to show you that extra book I was talking about for the Labyrinth Tarot. This is the extra guidebook that I was talking about for the Labyrinth Tarot. I'm so glad that I purchased this. I've never bought a used book on Amazon before, and it's really given much more insight into the deck. And the other beauty of it is that you get to see the cards much larger than they are, because they really are very small cards with the large borders that they have. And so even for the minors, you get significantly more information than in the little white book that comes with the deck. And then just look at this. You get these full-sized 8 by 10, 8.5 by 11 pictures of his artwork. So this is like over 21 and a half centimeters by 14 centimeters. So you really get a good look into his art. And then you get these much larger descriptions. So beautiful. And yeah, so I was saying I purchased this deck because of its kind of timeless quality, and I love the sepia tones, and I love using decks with sepia tones for past life readings. Yeah, I just think it's really cool. So yeah, so that's all I have for you today, and thank you very, very much for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions about these decks, and I look forward to chatting with you below. Stay well, my friends. Namaste.